All right, welcome back to the Crazy Courage podcast. We have another crazy guest. I say crazy just because he's done so many projects that he's got courage, but I think it takes a little dash of crazy for sure to jump into all these projects that he's done. He is a creator, and he'll say that he's also a storyteller. And his latest project is a sci-fi trilogy, which I love sci-fi myself, so that's going to be awesome to hear about. So why don't we start there? You know what? I don't even want to spoil the rest. This is going to be great. We're going to start with the talk about your sci-fi trilogy, and then we'll just unpack all the other fun stuff that you're up to. So let's start there. Aaron, tell me, what's this trilogy about?
Well, it's written by a guy who is a dash of crazy, and probably more than a dash of crazy. It's just FYI. I think you're like, you hit it right on the nose, though. You really have to have a dash of crazy or several dashes of several crazy in order to survive in this world.
Right.
So yeah, I've always been a storyteller in every single career that I've ever had. Right now I'm a voiceover artist and an author. Those are telling other people's stories and telling my own, and prefer this one. I mean, by far, like 7 days of the week and twice on Sunday. I just, I've been through a lot of different like service oriented businesses in my life and services and offerings through my life. I just love creating a good story. So what I set out to do was really just do a single novel in 2023. As I was going through it, you come upon a development that happens fairly early on in the story where I realized, had a little bit of an epiphany. Said there's actually, there's an undercurrent of a much larger story here that the protagonist isn't being told about. So it just grew, and I went down that rabbit trail as well. So
Yeah.
You said earlier, it's a trilogy. It's actually becoming a hexalogy, which is 6 books. So I wrote the original trilogy, thought I was done, went back and wrote a prequel, thought I was done, went back and wrote a second prequel, thought I was done, and now I'm working on the installment that comes after the trilogy. That's another sequel. And so it's become a hexalogy, and it's ballooned into something far bigger than I ever could hope.
And now a sequel.
Yeah.
It's very, I'm not going to lie, it's very reminiscent of Star Wars. You know, you got the middle 3, and then you went to the beginning, and now you're continuing from where the third book left off in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
I love it.
I hadn't thought about that. There is no Jar Jar in my books, unless I've got a lot of dashes of crazy that I don't know about. But yeah, there are aliens.
I'm glad to hear it. There are aliens. That's great. Aaron, it kind of sounds like these books are like pouring out of you. Is that like, do you just walk around with all these crazy ideas in your head and you just, I got to get them out? Like, because starting in 2023 to write a book, and now you're looking at 6 books, it sounds like a pretty short timeline.
Yeah. I have churned them out. I like to it's partly a joke, but I like to tell people that they've literally burst out of me like an alien queen.
I love it.
Again, I am a voiceover artist, but part of the reason I'm making it's not really a foray, but a return foray into, I said that Frenchly or Latinly, foray. I don't know why I did that. I'm being pushed back into other creative pursuits because the voiceover industry is actually crumbling by virtue of AI. So I'm actually really, really like testosterone, adrenaline fueled driven to write these books as good and as fast and as robustly as I can. But I don't want to wait. I wanted to put something out there that was compelling, and the story tells itself. If it's one story, the end, fine. But there was so much more to mine and so much more story to explore. Each time I try to get away and write this other novel that's a perfectly good novel that I've been trying to work on, it's like a bungee cord, just sucks me back in. Yeah.
It's world building at this point?
Well, the world is pretty much built. It's set in, it depends on which book you read, but it's set in either 2026 primarily or 2042.
Okay.
It is Earth, so it's not sleek starships in space in the year 3489. It's gritty, rusty, overgrown, alien invaded post-apocalyptic Earth of 2042. And then I wrote a prequel that goes back to before that alien invasion, 2026. But there's so much part and thematic depth and human story of survival. Best thing I've ever written.
Wow, that's great. Hey, good for you. I'm catching you at your peak. That's fantastic. Look at that.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't say They say don't market. They say be an enthusiast because enthusiasm sells. I
Okay.
am so enthusiastic about what I've written, and I'm a harsh critic of anything that I've pursued, and there's been a lot of creative pursuits. I love this story that I've been given. I really do.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm going to have to check it out now. It sounds like I want to be enthusiastic about it too. Now, but you did say that one of these books it has been adapted for the screen and is being marketed around.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, thanks for the lead in because that's the best part about this. So I'm holding up Dissonance Volume 1 Reality, which is the very first one that I penned. And
Okay.
then this kicks off the other two volumes in the series, in the original trilogy. And anyway, this is the beginning of that. So Dissonance Volume 1 Reality has been adapted for the screen and is
Okay.
being pitched to major streaming networks. Today, it was pitched to, as far as I know, Playtone Entertainment, which is
Okay.
Tom Hanks' company,
Nice.
and Imagine Entertainment, which is Ron Howard's company.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's every author's dream, is getting your book adapted to the screen and then seeing it on the screen. And
See
I'm
it
as
come to life the
excited.
whole.
Oh, I'm stoked beyond belief. I'm just like, come bring it on, because I'm gonna be so giddy as an 11-year-old schoolgirl just for the screen watching it.
Oh, that is awesome. That would be pretty big deal though. You know that, someone's taking your work seriously and you hit the mainstream. I mean, and look, it's great to be an indie publisher and stuff and all, but you really want to, not writing a book just for your two best friends to read it, right? You're writing a
No.
book to get it out to the masses. You want them to immerse themselves in your world that you've created in your head, right?
Yeah, and the world building is very tangible. It's very attainable. So if you think about it, an alien invasion, the premise of it is that an alien invasion happens in 2026, and they're not crafts or probes or drones or ships that come down. They're beings that float down out of the sky, and they wait there for 90 days. And we're going friend or foe. I mean, what is
Right?
this? All over the planet. They don't attack, so we think maybe they're angelic messengers,
Okay.
but we find out later we were wrong. But as I wrote it, I wrote it. It has mass appeal. I wrote it very cinematically,
Okay.
and my screenwriter, it was, I dare say, a pretty easy job. They never are, but an easier job to translate it to the screen, because it tended to write very visually as I'm going
Okay.
through. So that helped him adapt it to the screen. And I think it does have a real universal appeal of just the thematic depth to it. Justice versus revenge, snarkiness versus maturity, cynicism versus trust, faith versus despair. It's loaded with good stuff.
Yeah, great themes, right?
Yeah.
Great themes that people love to enjoy and to digest and absorb and the whole bit, right? And that's what you want out of a book, right? And
Yep.
heck, that's what you want when you go to watch a movie as well. You want that to take you away to a different world as well. So it's all good escapism. I'm a sci-fi guy. If you have to ask me, Star Trek versus Star Wars, I'm more of a Star Wars guy. Nothing against Star Trek, just where I lean towards. I love alien stuff too. Now I did see you talk about the alien movies specifically. You had very specific thoughts on that and preferences, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, really ambiguous thoughts, and non-specific in any way. I love, love, love. It's probably going to be imprinted on my gravestone in
Yeah,
some respect.
nice.
My favorite movie of all time is Aliens with Sigourney Weaver in 1986. That movie had absolutely everything. And the story of it is it's just so relatable. It's such a what I love about it is that, like Star Wars, as opposed to Star Trek, we're talking about that vein, it's not sleek and aesthetic and vanilla and everything's antiseptic and beautified. It is gritty. There's oil coming out through the fuselage and the panelization of the ship. It's dirty. It's gringy. It's grutty. Grungy.
Yeah.
Gritty, grungy. That's what I meant.
Yeah, all at once.
Yeah, I appreciate the reality behind that approach. And so that is the approach that I took in world building for Dissonance. It's an overgrown world. 85% of humanity has been wiped out by what we call the Gorgons. And they are Gorgons because, if I can hold this up and describe it at the same time, they are aliens that have a telepathic paralytic.
Cool.
So you cannot under any circumstances lock eyes with them. You
Okay.
do, and it's all over. They have that paralytic. They're going to paralyze you with their mind. They're going to immobilize you. They're going to eat you where you stand, and you're going to feel every single bite.
Oh, that's
There's nothing you can do.
not a happy.
No,
No.
run. Don't take pictures. Aliens, run.
Yeah.
I don't know why we always take pictures. But that grittiness that killed off, 85% of us. What happens when such a cataclysm happens? Earth becomes overgrown. It's unmaintained. There's, you know, ant hills 5 feet tall and beehives that are the size of pintos. And there's flooding and natural catastrophes that are completely unmanaged by humans. That's the world that we live in 2042. So
Okay.
it's Earth. It's just unmanaged Earth because we're all living underground in fear.
Yeah, I could see how that would come to pass. Yes, absolutely. We'd panic for sure. Okay. Tell me about your voiceover work.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by that. I've always thought maybe I'd give it a try. I never did, but I thought I would. Okay, let me ask you this first while we get in there. Do you have like a character that you play when you do your voiceover stuff? Like, are you a different guy? Like, are you like game show, radio voice, that kind of guy?
No, what's been trending for several years, I mean, ever since the pandemic, really, but even before that, is a paternal, reassuring voice, a natural conversational voice. We don't, no one wants anymore the tell them what they want, John.
Yeah.
No one wants that. They want connective, guy next door, friendly, natural, conversational. So I don't really do a lot of character animation work. This is my studio behind me, by the way, for those of you watching.
Nice.
I'm currently the voice of United Healthcare, which is commercial work. So
Okay.
commercials, you're going to see, act now, enrollment ends December 7th, or the member IDU card, so it's your all-in-one member IDU card. I don't remember the whole script, but I do their voices for their TV commercials, radio, web commercials. I've done Wrangler, Cadillac, Uber, Amazon, Microsoft, Enterprise, Fidelity, Green Dot Bank, just the list goes on and on.
Wow.
But I primarily do commercial and e-learning.
Okay.
E-learning pays really well. The one thing I absolutely hate doing is audiobooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but there's a dichotomy there because I wrote several books and they need audiobook versions. So I did record my own because I'd be so remiss if I farmed that out and someone did a terrible job with my characters or my story.
Fair. You would
So,
not be happy. No.
yeah, it turned out really well. I mean, the audiobook narrator from my books, I mean, he's stellar. He's fantastic. Oh, it's me. I forgot it's me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, to be fair, during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, you said everyone wants kind of that fatherly, paternal tone, and fair. But I would expect during the pandemic, a lot of new faces would have appeared as competition for all those roles as well, right? You're at home, you're like,
Yes.
well, I might as well do voiceover work out of my own home. Just get a mic and I'm good, right?
Right. And
I mean, I know
therein
it's not
lies,
that simple, but
it really isn't. It's people approached me over the years in droves, and they would say, "Yeah, I was told I have a good voice and I should do voiceovers." And my answer was always, "So?" I mean, it really doesn't matter. What really does matter in voiceovers, I don't think I was ever once told, "Hey, Aaron, you've got a great voice. You should do voiceovers." I don't think I was ever once told that. What does matter is having business acumen,
Okay.
knowing how to market, being willing to audition a lot. I mean, I churn out 200 to 250 auditions per week on any given week.
wow.
And a shred of those are awarded to me. I think it just takes more than people think. It's not simply having a good voice and getting some $32 mic from Radio Shack and
right?
expecting to be awarded a big union job.
Sure.
So I've just had tenacity. I've had passion about pursuing it and passion about doing great auditions and great jobs. As you can see, I mean, this didn't happen overnight. I really worked up to this studio, which is an 880 square foot shop converted to an office and a studio and a rec room. That took a while. So, but I do love it.
It shows that you're taking it seriously, right? You're not just some fly by night kind of operation, just throw up a mic and go at it.
In your closet.
Your closet. Yeah, right. Exactly. Like all these guys that tell you, you can be a voiceover artist. You just need like a soundproof closet and you're good to go. And I'm sure you'll be really comfortable, right?
Yeah. Which is it was almost verbatim, by the way, what you just said. You do this and you'll be this in a week. And all you got to do is pay me $89 for a training course.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's that
Those
simple.
guys came out of the woodwork in the pandemic.
Did you notice Was it easier to get gigs before the pandemic or as opposed to during when, like I said, when more people would have come on the scene? Or did you not notice a
No, I
different?
think overall it's been fairly steady up until the beginning of this year. It was almost as if someone flipped a switch on
Right.
January 1st, because last year I had my best year ever,
Yeah.
by a mile. And this year isn't shaping up too bad, but this year, if you were to take United Healthcare out of the equation, it'd be much lower.
Okay.
Um, I thank God for United Healthcare, because that has been a boon of business for us. It's union work, so it's given us health insurance for this year and next already.
Nice.
All of next year, and it's an incredible price. But yeah, I think during the pandemic, people were looking for work from home jobs in droves.
Yeah.
But it didn't really. People always raise the red flag of competition. There's saturation in the market. Yes, but when I go into a casting notice, I'm going to see, first of all, it's for males, okay, not for females.
Right.
Now it's for 30 to 50-year-olds, okay? Now it's for 30 to 50-year-olds who have a British accent, you know? And so
Yeah.
the demographic and the focused target character that they want for this particular role is no longer in such a wide pool.
Okay.
Yes, you have a lot of competition out there, but geez, over half of them are those fly-by-nighters in their closet with a cheap radio mic.
Yeah. So, they're not going to go very far. Sure, they're a competition, but are they really? Right.
Yeah,
It's not
not
going to be the
much.
same. No, exactly. I'll tell you just as an aside there, my daughter was in acting a few years ago. And we noticed a big shift during the pandemic where the casting agents were all of a sudden now willing to accept self-tapes. So auditions that
Yeah.
you could send by email. But before that, it was all in person, right? So you had to drive a couple hours to the nearest major metropolitan area where they did all the auditions and stuff. During the pandemic, well, hey, we can't have people in close proximity. So now you can tape it at home, self-tape, send it in, which was great in terms of, for us, it meant that a lot less of my time and mileage and time spent on the road. Although it was a great time with my daughter, the time we spent driving around, but it meant that we could churn out a lot more self tapes, but it also meant that everyone else could too. So in that particular industry, it made it so that there is a lot more competition for those roles. Yeah, it just made it more difficult to get the roles. And it's tougher when you're not doing it in front of a casting person. They just watch like 2 seconds of your audition and you turn it off or whatever. Was you're in person, they have to suffer through the whole thing, right? So there's
Right.
no way around that. Anyway, so that
Yeah.
was my thing. So you said it was like a switch that flipped January 1st for voiceover. You did sort of touch upon the subject of AI, the fancy buzzword that everyone talks about these days. That obviously has encroached on that industry.
Oh, big time. Every creative industry of anyone that I've talked to in their respective industries is affected by AI. There are several proponents. There are several people opposed to it. And I mean, there's no shortage of people opposed to AI in voiceovers because it's one of the easiest industries to infiltrate. It's one of the easiest industries to erode. So you've had the usual suspects all along: the lowballing clients, the underbidding colleagues, the economy. Last year we also had the SAG after a strike. So there's four right away. But then AI really came to the fore last year with ChatGPT and OpenAI. And ever since then, it's just been this boom, this explosion. And people would frankly, it's really sad, but many people out there would frankly rather pay $49 to software like Speechalo, where you can synthesize a voice and expect that to connect with other humans, than pay hardworking humans a fair market rate. And so as of January 1st, honestly, it really felt like a switch flipped. I've seen the quantity of jobs go down, the quality of jobs go down, and I haven't seen the number of competitors, and I'll call them that because we're all vying for the same role.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that number increase really any, but I do talk to colleagues here and there. I've withdrawn from the VO community as of or spring last year. There were some elements of toxicity to it that just kind of pushed me away. But I still keep in touch with several colleagues, and they're all echoing the same sentiment that they are seeing decline. So honestly, I've been writing all this time. As a voiceover artist, I wrote and published 6 voiceover books, many of them composed largely of satirical storytelling-based content.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
this was a no-brainer for me to jump back into fiction novelization. I love a good fictional story. And so if voiceovers are going to decline, then I need something else to at least try to build an on-ramp to that. It's called Adapt and Overcome. You talk about, this is the Courageous podcast.
Yep.
And what's more courageous than leaving something that you've known and hoping for the best for something else? That's what I'm doing.
That's
Adapt and Overcome.
the definition of the basis for this podcast. It's people leaving what they know to try something new, not knowing what's going to happen. They jump out the plane. My parachute may or may not open, right? There you go. Those books.
This is my promised land. I've left for the promised land. I'm holding up my books right now. That's my promised land.
I love it. Hey, Aaron, so sorry, back to your books for a sec. Just a question popped into my head. What kind of research, so it's sci-fi, right? What kind of research do you have to do for your books?
One of the best things that's just become available to everyone as a storyteller is Google. I mean, you can Google anything that you need. My characters are traversing real life terrain set 2 years or, however you look at it, 18 years from now in 2026, 2042. And I'm threading them through actual streets of Clarksville, Tennessee, Blue Spring, Kentucky, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, Norfolk, Virginia. I am threading their way through actual streets, actual buildings, actual establishments that are now post-apocalyptic settings. So there's that, there's using Google Street View and Satellite View.
Right.
And man, I just took, I would call it a pilgrimage. In Labor Day weekend, I flew out to Nashville and Clarksville, Tennessee, and drove all the way up to Blue Spring, Kentucky. They're all very, very critical and pivotal settings in my books.
Yeah.
So to see it on Google Street View and Satellite View is one thing.
Yeah.
But to go there, where I've set these stories, it was so incredibly surreal.
It's like you can feel like you're there, right? You're not just seeing it on the screen. I get it. There's a difference.
It brings a level of reality to it. So that's one side of it, to answer your question. The other side of it, though, is Dissonance Volume 3 Renegade. Again, for those of you who are viewing, this is the 3rd installment of the trilogy. And if you look at the cover, it definitely has military overtones.
Yeah.
So in research for this book, there are probably 8 climactic battles in this one book alone. And I talked to a 35-year retired aircraft carrier captain. I talked to a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force who lives across from me, 2 senior airmen in the Air Force, and a retired Army chopper pilot to give me all the details that I needed for inside the cockpit of an F-15, what they say when they fire missiles, what they say when they have to bug out, they have to, eject from their plane, what they say when they're out of ammo, how they regard people at various elevations in flight, what an aircraft carrier looks and sounds like when it takes off. I got it from them. I put it in here. They read it. They all said, yeah, oh, that's legit. And I was like,
cool.
Yes.
So cool. And because to be fair, what's going to lend a lot of credibility to your book is that authenticity, right? Just having the correct details, not just made up details about stuff. Like people will be able to relate to that a lot better, knowing that it's based on actual facts, especially since it's based in our world, right? Like you're building your world, of course, but it takes place on planet Earth. So you do have to have those technical, that technical aspects need to be fairly accurate. It makes sense. It lends a lot of credibility to your book. So
the authenticity, that's the word. But another word I've just probably reused over and over, and I probably owe the maker of the word some kind of commission, is verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude. I like that word. Yes.
I would never want a military person to read my book and go, what? That's not even what you call it, or that's not how you say that. Right. And then they slam the book down. I want them to read it and go, no, this guy definitely did his research, and you'll find that. It's authenticity brought to life.
And to be fair, there's enough people in the military and in the world that they're going to look at your book. They're a large part of the population, and I assume your target market. You don't want to turn those guys off. You want to be able to capture them as well as an audience. So Aaron, talked about the books, the hexalogy that you're polishing off, the voiceover work. But let's go back in time. Let's talk about, how far back do I have to go to see that when you got the bug for really ditching the corporate life and really just pulling the chute and doing it on your own?
Well, the year was 1942. See? No, I will never forget. It's cemented in my mind. The year was 2007, and I was always pursuing entrepreneurial pursuits on the side, whether it was voiceovers or authoring or music or poetry or dance or whatever. I don't have the dancing body anymore, but
Nice. So you're dabbling, always dabbling, right?
Yeah, in creative pursuits, absolutely. I had been reduced to part-time at this drywall company in Woodinville, Washington. It's to the east of Seattle. And I'd had the bug in me for a while to go full-time. And, I did graphic design for a while. I'd wanted to do my own thing, but I'll never forget. I was home. We were snowed out from work, and I wasn't able to get into work because it was a blizzard. And so, comedy of errors, my boss called me, and I happened to be in the shower. I was going to try to go to work, happened to be in the shower, so I couldn't pick up. And I come back to this voicemail where my boss, who admittedly did have a reputation for being a little paranoid, he'd conceded that before. He called me and left me a profane rant accusing me of sabotaging his computers because they weren't turning on, sabotaging his internet because they couldn't connect, and some other things. I worked so hard for this man and his dream and his company. I'll never forget looking at the phone and going, I was blown away. How much do you have to prove that you are trustworthy? And I didn't do any of what he was accusing me of. So right then and there, I decided I'm going to do my own thing. And shortly thereafter, I went into self-employment, which was multimedia design, graphic design, web design.
Okay.
That's really evolved into a lot of video production, videography, voiceovers as well with corporate video production. And voiceovers paved the way for me to return to authoring and write 6 voiceover books on business and satire and inspiration and laughter while trying to remain sane while you're auditioning for all these jobs. But that is the formative moment where I said, I'm going to do my own thing.
And I think even today, if you thought this isn't working out, I got to go back to the corporate world. Like, how terrible of an idea is that? Does that sicken you?
Did you hear the wind? Oh yeah. I leaned forward and looked for a bag. I have no words, and I'm a storyteller. Yeah. Like, it's not slavery. It's not bondage. You can love what you do and work for someone else's dream, and it can become, by transference and by extension, your dream. But their dreams were never my dreams.
No fair.
And I'm not a good employee. I'm distracted. I'm so focused in my A mode here. One of the greatest things that I suggest anybody does for any kind of self-employment or dream pursuit is have a mantra. And my mantra comes from a movie I like to pretend does not exist. It's Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Qui-Gon Jinn says to a young Anakin Skywalker, "Your focus determines your reality." Yeah. And boy, I heard that when it came out in the theaters and went, yeah, that's neat, whatever. But boy, in 2007, I found it again and went, whoa.
Yeah, it's not just a movie line, right?
It became my mantra. I put it on a plaque. I'm holding up my little plaque that has the phrase on it right here. Had that made. It's so true. Your focus determines your reality. My focus to become an excellent, successful, mortgage paying voiceover artist became reality. My focus of becoming a best-selling author and knocking on wood, seeing it adapted to screen and being a series is becoming reality. I'm so happy.
Because that's your focus, right? So, I mean, you're living proof that that's the way it is.
Yep.
So, Aaron, you love to work on your own. You love to follow your own dreams. Like, are you a lone wolf kind of guy? Like, I don't picture you working on a team.
I've worked, in a volunteer basis, yes. I'm a horrible boss. I just don't like being over people. I don't like the implied hierarchy of hiring and firing. I hate that. I've been there, and I don't like it. It's not where I'm comfortable. Lone wolf is maybe it's not harsh. I mean, I work and play well with others. I can play in the sandbox with others,
Yeah.
but I do have a singular vision, and
Yeah, and that's what I get from you. And I didn't mean lone wolf to be any kind of derogatory term.
That's fine.
You're just your own person. I don't see you being the employer kind of guy, not because, well, I'm sure you're a great guy. My assumption would be that your dreams are moving so quickly that
Yeah.
I don't know that other people could keep up with you.
That's very true. It's fair. It sounds a little harsh, the reality of it. No, you're not trying to be harsh, but that is a harsh reality that's actually pretty true. And I accept that. I do tend to go really fast, and I get flustered when people can't keep up. Right? To the point where my poor wife, when she can't work a remote, for the TV, and I've showed her this before. So first you get the eye roll, you saw it.
Yeah.
And like, honey, I've showed you this. Watch. You go here and you do this and you plug that and then you hold these together and you point. It's come on. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I do have a tendency to just kind of go. It's very hard to slow down.
Yeah. I feel like your mind probably works very quickly. It's just such a creative mind. It's just constantly moving forward at such a breakneck speed. I don't think people could keep up with you. I can't imagine.
There are definitely people who can keep up with me, but that's just in life. There are people who are very, very witty and quick-minded and funny. But when we're focused on a project together, there's just something that takes over in that, and you have to work on a shared vision. You have to collaborate and cooperate, and that becomes difficult because we all have our own opinions for how something should be achieved, and it does take a lot of give and take. And I can be so much more like, I know the right way. I just need to take, you need to give, and everybody will be at peace.
Right? Yeah. And
it's not the right way to do it.
I feel like you're kind of a unique individual in terms of the creative juices that are just oozing out of you. To put you on a team or to have you work for someone else on their dream is just stifling your vision. And I mean that as a compliment in terms of, I wish I had that kind of creative juices flowing. I feel like I do have some sort of creativity, but not nearly to the extent that you do. And I feel like for your own kind of self, you really have to let yourself run free. And maybe that's what you did when you broke the mold and you got out of the drywall business.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I was just actually talking with a colleague, a voiceover colleague that I'll still keep in touch with every now and then on Zoom a few hours ago today. And I mentioned earlier, I did break free of the toxic VO community. There were just some profound elements of toxicity inherent in that community. There's a little bit of an Illuminati of just people at the top, and you're just not going to break through that. No matter how hard you try. I was beating my head against a wall. And so as much as I wanted to be respected and to be involved and well-regarded, and I was contributing and bending over backwards to give and to inspire and this and that, I was on the outside looking in. So I left, and I remember a moment of reflection where I literally said to myself, what have I done? Because I've disconnected intentionally from a potential lifeline, with all these VO peeps. In a post-COVID world, we're a little bit cut off still anyway. It's the new normal. But it was the best thing I ever did. And I realize that now, hindsight's 2020, I have seen an absolute boon of creativity since leaving the community, since not investing so much time and energy and emotion and drive into pleasing these people at the top. So will they please let me speak at a conference? I gave all that up. And as a result, I will have published 6 books this year. I've published other books this year as well that have been recycled from other business insights and a book of poetry. And I'm an author, and I claim that mantle. And I'm so glad. I'm also a singer and a musician. I put out several CDs last year. I don't know what happened, but a wildfire was set match to in me. And I haven't stopped creating. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
You're being stifled, and then they let you go free after you stop saying, please, have some more.
Yeah.
Right? You moved away from that, and then you're able to run free, let the creative juices go. You're just an unstoppable force.
No apologies.
Good. Yeah, don't. But I can see, of course, that's that crazy courage. Comes a little bit of fear and doubt, right? I can see how disconnecting from that, you're always like, whoa, what did I do? Everyone has that. Those doubts creep in no matter how sure you are.
Yeah, I'm going to share another. I mean, I shared the mantra earlier, but I was given a quote by an agent named Liz Atherton. She's a voiceover agent, and she's a real sweet lady. She's not a voiceover agent anymore, I should say, but she's an entrepreneur with a voiceover marketplace online. And she imparted to me a quote. I want to say it was in the fall of 22 or the early part of 2023. And yes, I made a plaque of that as well, but it's harder to see because it's made of glass. But that quote means the world to me. As an author, we are dependent on people liking our book and reading, leaving a review and telling others about it, and for it to go viral and catch wind and spread. If we get a negative review, it can be very flummoxing. It can be really deflating. And so we have to work through those emotions. Well, I was striving for affirmation and acceptance and approval from the hierarchies of the VO sphere, and I wasn't getting it. And she imparted to me this phrase: someone's endorsement of you or lack thereof has very little to do with your trajectory. Right. And I said, say that again. She said it again. Someone's endorsement of you or lack thereof has very little to do with your trajectory. And I just went, it was the best thing that I needed to hear. Someone liking your book or not has very little to do with your trajectory. Someone leaving a review of your book or not, or a positive or negative, very little to do with your trajectory. People buying your book or not, very little to do. Keep doing you, keep moving forward and being courageous. Forget the naysayers. Don't hang your hat on approval. You'll never get it from man.
You got it. I don't think you could have said it any better. There's just so many people out there that aren't going to see what you see, your vision. They don't understand your trajectory, the trajectory that you're on.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got to say though, as a content creator, certainly as an author, those negative reviews have got to be tricky to get past though, regardless. Especially if it's some kind of actual critic, right? Like, do you actually read those kind of reviews of your books, your work?
Every day. Yeah, I refresh those screens every day. And I'm only looking at the 5 that are out for Dissonance right now, but I do look at those reviews. I look at them on Amazon and Goodreads every morning. And sometimes later in the day as well, I'll hit F5 and see what new has come in. Yes, sometimes people will leave a review that completely misses the spirit of the book. Right. Or they're short-sighted and, it's an alien invasion story. So the first 5 chapters setting the stage, the first 5 chapters of my prequel, which sets the heart and the thematic depth for this entire trilogy, they didn't like that I was establishing characters in the first part of this book or getting you to know the family that will be throughout here. They just wanted to see the carnage of the aliens and the bloodshed and the attacks and all this and that. You're just so hollow. You just have to consider the source. Was it disappointing? But you just missed the whole point. So I can't help those people.
I've read a lot of Amazon reviews, and you really got to dig deep to really find out what product you're looking at in terms of, could be any kind of widget. There's so many idiots out there writing reviews. They don't understand what they're writing about. They'll be like, this arrived on a Tuesday and it was supposed to show up on Thursday, 1 star. How's the product? Did you like it? I don't know. I love the reviews where I bought this for my grandson for Christmas. I can't wait for him to open it. 5 stars. I'm like, but what? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's horrible. I'm going to just go in a real vulnerable place here for a second. So I used to be a wedding videographer.
Yeah.
And wedding videography, it just became such an industry full of revenge tactics. And
really?
I don't know what happened, but clients got really entitled in the mid part of 2019.
Okay.
And so I'm so glad I left. We no longer needed it because I was making, more than enough money just in voiceovers alone. But boy, they became narcissistic, and they would whittle down a $1,400 package to $900. And then they would start slowly requesting that I add things back in carte blanche. You get pushback on it, and then they get angry because they're going in the wrong direction now financially.
Yeah.
And then I don't give it to them, and they run straight to Yelp. And so those Yelp reviews, I absolutely detest Yelp because it is, I want to say form over function, but it basically gets the meat, but not the spirit of the matter.
Right.
And people are very fickle. They're going to give a 5 star or a 1 star. And I don't have to give you a $5,000 package for $900 for you to leave me a 5-star review. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So I had to deal with a lot of that back then. And you enter in image management mode. It was really deflating and really discouraging because I did give my all at weddings.
There's
And
so much of that. I don't go to Yelp hardly ever these days.
Good.
Just I feel like that system's broken. And who's going to leave the review? The person who had bad service or had a rough time, or that one person. But they're going to yell the loudest, and they're going to be the people who run to write the reviews the fastest, right? So it's skewed in the wrong direction for sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, even the petty people, revenge people, they'll go, yeah, I'm going to screw you on Yelp. But, someone's living here you're messing with, just for your own pettiness. It's ridiculous. People are so, like you said, they're entitled now, right?
They're entitled, but they're willing to sabotage someone's livelihood just to make a point. And that's really scary. Right.
Yes.
Cancel culture. I mean, Yelp really was like the beginning of cancel culture because people it is a forum for nothing more than character assassination.
That's it.
And I cannot stand, if you watch $1 Billion Bully, it's a fantastic documentary exposing Yelp's practices. Yelp doesn't care about the little guy who's just through his livelihood, put food on his family's plate. If you advertise with them, then they'll remove those negative reviews for you and they'll mitigate and they'll come to your aid. But if you don't, it was awful. Cleansing breath.
Wherever you go for your reviews, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You got to dig deep and understand what you're reading and what the person's trying to say and realize if they're leaving an actual review and they've actually used the product, read the book, understood what was going on. We live in a world where everyone gets a soapbox. I mean, every group like me can have a podcast, so sure, everyone gets a voice. That's great.
I don't know. Yours seems like it checks out okay. So
there you go.
5 stars. 5 stars for Nick.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, but that's the world we live in, right? In cancel culture isn't. I can't imagine going anywhere.
When I first set out to write Dissonance, I wasn't sure why I was titling it Dissonance other than liking the word dissonance. Right. Dissonance is a lack of harmony. That's what it means. It's two conflicting notes or more conflicting notes. And you come to find out, yes, it's an alien invasion that just basically plunges Earth into a very dystopian environment where we're eking out an existence in the shadows. But really always, it 100% of the time comes back to man is the worst enemy of man. And I mean, you find that out as you go through 16 years after alien occupation. We're still throwing each other under the bus. We're still we're putting ourselves forward. We're still talking bad about each other. We're still not willing to help our fellow man. We're still doing whatever we can to get ahead. And that's what the central message of this series is as cliche and as bumper stickery as it may sound, we have to work together to purge the scourge. We have to. So, and people are learning as you go through the series, they're learning that the hard way, and it costs lives. And I'm going to do a spoiler here, so I better stop talking, but it costs.
It costs. You're right. Yeah. And I think art imitates life. We saw it when the great toilet paper shortage of 2020, when civilization started to fall apart pretty quickly, when I don't even know how that started, to be honest, and who decided it was a good idea to buy all the toilet paper at Costco or whatever.
I don't know.
It's insane.
Isn't that so bizarre? Still. Yeah. Like, what?
When your kids grow up, you have to tell them about, well, there was a toilet paper shortage for a week when people went bananas, but then the manufacturers were like, well, we'll just make more. We don't care.
That was so bizarre. I'll never forget writing a blog about that in 2020 as a voiceover artist. And if this is a test of dissonance, I wrote a blog and I happened to grab a picture of someone wearing a mask because we were addressing masks as well. And there was a comical picture of, I forget where I found it, but it was a comical picture of a person wearing a mask. Not one of these N95 masks or anything of the kind. It was like a hazmat mask.
Okay.
Just the top, no suit, just the top. And I put it on my blog, not thinking anything of it. I don't know how soon after that it was, but it was several months. And I get a letter that was every since a cease and desist. But it was from a company, a law firm that reverse searches people's images on the internet and then basically extorts you for money, license fee that you owe them for using that picture, which belongs to that person. And I forget who they're called. I've just tried to purge that memory as well.
Sure.
But in this society, it's either completely 1-star everybody or 5-star everybody, or take advantage of people through unscrupulous means. Nigeria is full of crazy scammers. We see them all the time in the literary world. And it's just, man, can we not live ethically?
I
It's
thought
just,
Nigeria was full of wonderful princes. Wasn't
I
it that
know
owe
I've
everyone money?
I've
Wasn't
gotten
that
80 inheritances so far, I believe. I'm just trying to do
yeah,
my
I
part,
don't
you know?
I didn't know I had so many relations over there.
Yeah.
That was very surprising.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to do my part for every Nigerian prince out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
I don't want to
Exactly.
brag, but just trying to help.
I'm related to royalty. Yeah.
Prince Nick.
Prince Nick. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, Aaron, why don't you tell me about the other books you've written? I mean, look, Dissonance is going to be awesome, but I want to hear about the other
Yeah.
books you've written as well.
Yeah, well, there was a series that I first started in 2019, I believe. It was called Super Voiceover Artist Series, and it was a trilogy. I guess I have a thing for trilogies. And so it was basically insight, experience, analogies, anecdotes, satire, designed, peppered amongst all of that was business tips and tricks and advice and mentorship. So it was a good balance of a fiction/nonfiction read. Largely nonfiction, largely business based, but with some encouraging satire around it to help people relax in a tense industry where we're all auditioning all the time for a job, and we're dependent on being awarded those jobs, and it can be very tense waiting for the next job to be awarded, and you've churned out 500 auditions and no job. So I wrote 3 books to basically inspire from there. And then I wrote Running a Successful Voiceover Business, which was at the top of the charts for a while and is featured in Backstage magazine, Backstage websites for recommended list of voiceover business reference books. I wrote under my former stage name. I used the stage name of Joshua Alexander as a voiceover artist. I've since departed from that. But you'll find all those, the trilogy, Running a Successful Voiceover Business, How Do I Get Started in Voiceovers, and 5 T's to Triumph, I think was my last book that I wrote for, getting awarded jobs. I wrote those.
Nice.
I wrote a book in the early 90s called The Omega Room, which was a fiction book, but it didn't represent where I wanted to take my life at the time. So I foolishly deleted that book.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I
You
wish.
didn't even keep, you don't.
No, this is a 5 1/4 floppy. I don't think there even was an undelete function back then. But I did lose that
I remember
book.
those.
Yeah, I dare say, I honestly think I had, and I don't know what this equates to for a 6x9 book, but I think I had close to 300 pages in that book. So do I regret that? Yes, I would love to have seen that and seen where it could have gone. Anyway, hindsight's 2020. It's fine. Moving on. Yep. So I'm writing, or should I say, I'm attempting to continue writing a book called Forecast. But every time I dive back into Forecast, Dissonance comes calling again, and so here I am writing another installment of Dissonance.
When did you start Forecast? Was it before Dissonance or?
No, it was this year. I finished the trilogy. Yeah, I finished volume 3, and then I set out to write Forecast. And then I was like, ooh, actually, I could write a prequel. Forecast, pause, prequel done, Forecast. And then I was like, I could write another prequel. Pause, Forecast, second prequel done, Forecast. And now I'm going, I really need to write a sequel to the entire series. So pause, Forecast, sequel. And then I just, I need to write it because it's a great story. But when it will be on the shelves, man, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, tough calls. Too much to do with that Dissonance still, especially, if Tom Hanks gives you a call tomorrow, we'll be busy then too.
One of the greatest things that I love about this is that, boy, I didn't need any further vetting when I heard this for my screenwriter. My screenwriter is Alan Roth with Act 2 Media. God bless him. Love the guy. He's a really, really wonderful man and came up with a great screenplay that's very close to the book, Dissonance Volume 1 Reality. It was very collaborative how he wrote the screenplay. He would run it past me and tell me, and I had some changes. He implemented them. Okay. James Cameron, Titanic, Avatar, Aliens, Terminator. James Cameron used to be married. He's up and coming, right? Yes. Most people haven't heard of him. Yeah. Probably nothing will come of him, I'm sure. No. He used to be married to Gail Ann Hurd, a very powerful and well-known producer in Hollywood. Gail Ann Hurd put on a contest for Hollywood Fellows. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but if you're in a fellowship of Hollywood and, coming into Hollywood, yeah, she put on a contest for screenwriters. My screenwriter is one of the 5 winners of that contest with his screenplay, Jersey City Story. So I am 3 degrees away from James Cameron.
Right?
I mean, like, it's beautiful. That gets me so excited.
Yeah.
So,
well, that is very exciting. Your world becomes very small. I mean, not the world becomes very small, but everything becomes so much closer.
yeah, it becomes more tangible.
Tangible, I think is the word I'm looking for. So what is Forecast about?
Forecast. So, when I was a kid, my first writing assignment ever in 1981, in 2nd grade, I was given a writing assignment to come up with a little novella, as we all were. I came up with a story called The Electric Boy.
Okay.
And it was full of intrigue, and it was Hollywood ready, and it was, it was amazing. Actually, it was college rule paper and crude stick figure drawings, and I think I got an A. I don't know, I can't remember.
Nice.
But it's funny because what comes around goes around, and the circle is now complete. I wrote Forecast, or I'm writing Forecast. It is about a weatherman who gets struck by lightning. The Electric Boy was about a boy who gets electrocuted. The Forecast man is imbued with a few special powers. The boy in Electric Boy receives special powers and goes on a learning journey and this and that. Forecast basically, though, is about this weatherman who's struck by lightning, and he is able to receive video images slingshot around the sun of travesties that are going to appear in the future. They're going to transpire in the future.
Okay.
But only if he is in close proximity to the person who is about to commit said atrocity. So it's set in September of 2001, if you can see where I'm going.
Yeah, I do see.
It's set in New York. It's set in Manhattan. So I'm probably going to end up undoing September 11th, so it becomes historical fiction after a fashion.
Okay,
but
interesting.
I love the cover. I love the premise. It's a really good story so far. I just have to keep. And I'm like,
how far into it are you? Like, how close is it to completion?
Yeah, I'm shelving it. I mean, it took me a few months to get to 50 pages in Forecast. It took me a few days to get to 50 pages in the prequel for Dissonance. So one just flows and just comes out of me and it tells itself. The other one takes a little bit more of, come on, let's do this, grease the wheel. It's going to take a while. I have 6 or 7 chapters written, about 75 pages now.
Okay.
And it is a great story. I've got a running platform to launch off of when I'm finally finished with Dissonance, whenever that is. But I'm very optimistic about it because it is a good story.
Oh, that's very exciting. It's such a different genre for you. I mean, it's still science fiction, I guess, but it's so different compared to like an alien invasion. Not even the same realm at all.
No,
I love it.
It's going to be good. I really do like the story. I think it definitely has some potential. As I write, personalizing it, I find that Dissonance is where I belong. I know the characters. I love the characters. One of the most unanticipated and yet so richly rewarding facets of going back and writing the prequel, when I thought I was done with the trilogy, is there are people who die. I mean, it's inevitable. They die in the trilogy, in this war against the Gorgons. You go back and you write a prequel, and they're alive again. And they're young, and they're healthy. And you know what's going to happen to them. You know their inevitable ultimate fate. But it is such a warm blanket seeing these people that are like, I know you. There, big hug. It's so good to see them in print again. Right? As they become real and they become a friend or family member.
I have an off-the-wall question.
Yeah.
Now, you said the settings for your books in Tennessee and Kentucky, right? Yep. Is it a thing for authors to use a setting that's not the city they live in? Because is that a no-no to set it in a city you live in?
No, I don't think so. I mean, ultimately, my characters, both the original characters from the Dissonance trilogy and Roland Bishop, who is the protagonist in Forecast, they all hail from Seattle, which is where I hail from. So, but it's more backstory. It's just kind of origin story for them. Yeah. I chose Clarksville. I literally pulled up Google Map and went, I'm going to hold true to this. I don't know. I just needed something middle America, middle of nowhere kind of rural for sure. Odds are against them. Metropolitan, you have more access to more things. So I needed something rural that way. But I firmly believe that when you start writing, at least this has happened with me, I've found so many things in volume 2, 3, the prequel, the other prequel, the sequel, where I look back and go, oh my gosh, thank God I wrote that there and put that there and included that and said this, because it allowed so much more story to be told and mined from that 3-word sentence, whatever it was.
Little
And
nugget.
so
Yeah.
that's just kind of following the spirit of your writing as you go and letting the characters lead you.
Oh, fantastic. It does sound like this story is just sort of taking a life of its own. I know it's coming from
Yeah.
you, but it sounds like you breathe some life into it.
The characters that are entirely fictional, their birthdays are in my real life Outlook calendar.
Funny.
They're real too. They're friends. I was absolutely disassembled and bawling when I killed off, not going to say.
Well,
And then I was absolutely disassembled and bawling when I edited that section. And then I was absolutely disassembled and bawling when I narrated in the studio there, that section. And then again, several times over. There's the death of a character in the prequel that you know is coming if you've read the sequels. And it's not death by Gorgon or anything like that. I knew it was coming, but I had no idea it was going to affect me so deeply because I was channeling myself and my wife into that situation.
okay.
And it just leveled me. But these are real people with real amazing stories that you so want to be true. It just seizes you, and the lines become blurred between fantasy and reality that way. And I promise I'm sane. You do dance in and out of this blur of reality meets fiction.
I understand it's fiction, but you're living in that world.
Yeah.
You've immersed yourself in that world in both worlds for almost 2 years now, right? So it's been a long time. I can understand how you would be emotionally attached to it. That sounds perfectly sane.
Phew. I'm going to get my wife wants to get a second opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it's same.
Yeah. Fantastic. So at this point, usually is when I ask you what you plan on doing for the future, what other projects you have coming up. But I feel like next step for you is just sitting by the phone waiting for Ron Howard or Tom Hanks to give you a call, right? They have your number, obviously.
No, it would be my screenwriter because he's doing the marketing for it. So he would tell me, and I'm actually touching base with him.
You directly, fine.
Well, we'll do Zoom. He actually was supposed to meet with them today, both of those studios, because they both got postponed in early September, I believe, to today. So we scheduled a Zoom for tomorrow with that in mind, so he can give me an update on where that's at. And one of the first ones, I can't name them just for non-disclosure reasons, but one of the first studios that he pitched it to. So you write the screenplay. What he does is, and you write the treatment and you do the character Bible and blah, blah, blah. The process is he makes a pitch, tells them a little bit about the story, and it's powerful, and here you go. If the studio likes it, they ask for the treatment, and the treatment is the overall overarching picture of the entire saga, and what's the ramifications, and what are the themes.
Interesting.
A larger umbrella picture of not just this particular book or screenplay, but that. So if they like the treatment, then they ask for the screenplay. And then if they like the screenplay, then they ask for the actual book, which is the source material, which is what I wrote. They are at book level right now. They've requested the book and they're reading the book.
That's exciting.
It's very exciting. I think we went all the way, and it was the very first pitch that he made. I have such high hopes. I'm pinning absolutely everything I have to this. I've spent so much money this year marketing Dissonance, but it is not an expense. It is an investment of courage.
Yeah.
It is an investment.
But you believe in yourself. You believe in the project.
I do.
Obviously.
I absolutely, thoroughly, and fundamentally do. And I so want this. If I could tell people, read 2 books in your lifetime. 1, the Bible. 2, Dissonance Volume 1 Reality. And then let it take you through the rest of the series, because it's just a rich story that's full of adventure and fear and trauma and survival and parenting through trauma. and thematic depth. And I can't believe I got to write it. It's humbling.
So is there any chance you're going to sleep tonight?
Sleep.
What is
That word
that?
sounds like it should mean something. Sleep.
Foreign concept.
Well, I actually, what I'm doing right now is my editor and I are editing in tandem Dissonance Volume Uprising, which is the second prequel. So we put our kids to bed, both of us, my wife and I, and when we're done, kids are teeth brush and all that stuff, I'm going to have my laptop. I'm going to be in my son's room and I'm going to, okay, love you, night. Okay, fine.
I just figured because you'd be so excited about your Zoom meeting tomorrow.
Oh, no, I'm excited. Yeah, I look forward to those so much, but if he had any news that was like HBO Max said yes, Prime said yes, Paramount said, he would tell me. So,
all right, wonderful, man. That is very exciting. I can't wait to see what happens. Now, just to be clear, if I want to read these books, I need to start with the original trilogy and then the prequels, right?
I would say that because prequel is the word sequel that just happens to happen pre, right? So, and that's refreshing. That's the way we were given Star Wars, for example.
Yes.
So you don't lose anything by starting with either the prequel or the trilogy opener. So I tell people, honestly, it's much more refreshing to read 1, 2, 3, and then go back and read 0 and up. It's more refreshing that way because then you go back in time and it's kind of like they just released A Quiet Place 1 and then 2,
right?
And then they just released Day 1.
Day 1, you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So you go back and you see the origin story. You know the origin story by this point, but you want to see the origin story. You having known it, you go back and you see it come to life, and it's amazing. It defies every belief and imagination that you've had to date. So I think it's cooler that way. It's more refreshing that way.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of origin stories. I mean, heck, that's what I love about this podcast, all origin stories. I love the superheroes. I love every kind of origin story you can throw at me. So I'm all for it. Exactly. Yep. Well, Aaron, I'm going to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. I mean, I'm going to be watching. I can't wait to see what's next coming down the pipes for you. It sounds like it's going to be very exciting, and you're going to have some big news to share very soon, hopefully publicly, and then I can share in that joy with you. But man, thanks for taking the time out to speak with me before you blow up and I can't get a hold of you anymore.
I'll always have time for Prince Nick from Nigeria.
I appreciate it. There you go. Thanks a lot, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And take care.